Dear students, let us start the discussion on today's newspaper, that is 18 July 2016. The first article is related to Indo-Nepal relations by Rakesh Sood. Now let us see a brief background of this. You know that three major parties are there in Nepal. One is Communist Party of Nepal, United Marxist-Leninist, and Communist Party of Nepal, Maoist, Nepali Congress. And there is a small party that is called Madhesi Front. Now the government is formed by Communist Party of Nepal UML and Communist Party of Nepal Maoist along with the support of the Madhesis. So in this case, when Jan Andolan was going on, the Communist Party of Nepal Maoists supported by Prachanda, the cadres, there were many cases against them. And he was requesting the government to remove those cases which KP Oli government did not move forward. And added to that, the KP Oli government has miserably failed with regard to post-earthquake relief. And it always hided itself under the Nepali nationalism, which was shown India in a very poor light. Our Nepali nationalism is seen as anti-Indianism in Nepal. And then he repeatedly played the China card. You know that when the constitution is passed by the assembly and the issue came for discussion, the Prime Minister KP Oli made a trade and transit agreement with China, calling India is bringing in a blockade for the movement of the goods and services from it. And he also took the matter to the UNR, global bodies. So in this context, India and the Nepal relations got worsened. Now, the Communist Party of Nepal Maoists and the Nepali Congress, what they are trying to do is they are coming together and form the government. It means the KP Oli government is going to lose the confidence of the House and they have to resign. And counter to this KP Oli, what he is bringing in is this. He says that as his government is functioning under the new constitution, as per the premises of the new constitution, he has to be removed. For that, the elections have to come, and only after that he can be removed from the office. It is pure political opportunism. So in this context, a good lesson is there for India, where India, its neighborhood first policy shall get sharpened. And a lesson for the Nepal is, it has to take up the post-war reconstruction immediately. Out of the $4.4 billion which have been pledged for the post-war reconstruction by the global nations, not even 10% has come into the Nepal. And there's a lot of effort the Nepal has to do on this particular front. Now, coming to limits to autonomy. I always say to the students that accountability and autonomy are the two sides of the coin and they coexist. So generally we see where there is autonomy, there is no accountability. No. As autonomy increases, parallelly accountability also increases. Now, in a democracy, every institution, every penny which is being spent need to be accounted for, and any power holder, he has to be answerable for his actions. So in this case, if you take RBI or IAM, all they talk about need for more autonomy rather than accountability to the executive. Remember that an executive in a democracy, he is functioning on behalf of the people and he enjoys the legitimacy through the vote of the people. So in this case, what I can say is, the institutional autonomy cannot mean the freedom to operate independently of the government. It is freedom to deliver on mandate as defined by the government and in consultation with the government. Understand? Consultation is different. And government imposing itself beyond or over its mandate is different. So a law is passed defining the responsibilities of certain institution. That's what is the mandate given by that particular government to that institution. The government shall not bypass its own mandate. So that's what is being said over here. So always accountability will be married to autonomy. And autonomy without accountability is meaningless. And accountability without autonomy will not achieve any results. So in this case, if you see, there are various mechanisms which are followed across the world to bring in the autonomy. So in US, the Fed is answerable to the Congress. In India also we can make RBI like institutions answerable to the Congress. Similarly, we can also bring in third-party audit of these independent institutions. That is what is called independent management audit. So like these mechanisms also need to be introduced to ensure autonomy and at the same time the accountability. Coming to the Prime Minister and the politics of questioning. So I want to make a statement over here. Parliament's ultimate objective is discussions and deliberations. And the media has to act as a bridge between the government and the people. And media is supposed to bring in this open deliberation and discussion. Now in this context, Prime Minister, to what extent he gives the respect to the Parliament, to that extent the legitimacy of the institution gets reinforced. But if you take the Jawaharlal Nehru's time, Prime Minister Nehru always made sure that he answered in the Parliament and he took the parliamentary work of the Prime Minister very seriously because he sets the tone of his government and attitude towards the legislature. Now, the present Prime Minister and his regular briefing of the Parliament about the foreign visits, it has totally been withdrawn. And also his address and answering to the questions in the Parliament is very minimized. And most of the address of the Prime Minister to the people, rather than engaging in a conversation across the media, it is more and more, it has become a certain syllabi on the Twitter. So it means the short words are replacing a long drawn conversation where there is a free flow of information and exchange of ideas between the representatives and the people. So in this context, that is very much in the need of the hour. So that's why today the media management has become a major important thing. So people or leaders believe that the media management is sufficient rather than accessing the media to deliver the information which the people are expecting from them. So that's why this phenomenon has been described as re-feudalization of the public sphere in India by Habermas. Coming to turmoil in Turkey. Now let me give you, in Turkey, already there were 4 military coups. But for the past 1.5 decades, there was no military coup in Turkey. And it appeared that the Turkey as a state got stabilized. But yesterday's coup has brought the things again to the world norm. So in this context, let us see what made the situations worse. The Turkey is a modern secular nation, which is a Muslim majority nation, and at the same time it has strong secular and liberal values too. And it is popularly said that Muhammad Ali Jinnah wanted to build Pakistan on the lines of Turkey as a modern Islamic nation. Now in this case, when Erdogan became the president, so the radicalization of the Turkey societies have started and the liberals had very minimal space in Turkey. So in this case, Erdogan has brought in something called Islamization of the society and also his hard stance against the Kurds, especially who are in the south and southeastern border, and even bombing of these Kurd areas, not duly recognizing their space in the legislative houses, and his failed diplomatic policies, and his authoritarian ways of functioning. All these have led to some dissentiment in the society. And next, let us take the military and the government relations. These are 2 power centers. And from Al-Turk onward, the days of him, the military has functioned as an independent institution. Now in this context, when Erdogan has become the president, he started curtailing the powers of the military. So finally, during the Syrian war, he played a double game between the ISIS and also with the coalition against the ISIS. And in these circumstances, the military has come onto the roads. It wanted to replace the Erdogan government. All the liberals have condemned the actions of the army, and they clearly said that there is no space for the army in the civilian life. And people also have come onto the roads to defend their democracy. That is a positive thing. But however, it is the time the Erdogan has to change his ways of functioning. Because if you observe in the last year, he wanted to gain the majority in the legislature and has want to change the government from the parliamentary system to presidential system and give more and more powers to the president. So that's what he tried to do in the last elections. So this is at the go-on attitude authoritarian waves have to change to deepen the democracy. Coming to Arunachal crisis. Few days back, Supreme Court has clarified on the role of the governor. And he clearly said that the governor cannot run a parallel government in the state along with the elected government. Now in the case of the speaker, what it said is this. So Article 179C, it clearly says that a speaker or deputy speaker may be removed from his office by a resolution of the assembly passed by a majority of all the then members of the assembly. Here the word all the then members is very important. What it clearly says is a speaker shall not try to change the composition of the assembly to gain a majority or to retain his seat. Especially when his disqualification is on the table, he shall not disqualify the members of legislative assembly on the grounds of anti-defection law. That is what is clarified by the Supreme Court. Now coming to, you know that Khabar Lahariya, so it is a village-based organization. The rural journalism has been given emphasis on Khabar Lahariya. You know that the mainstream media is criticized for its urban bias and the news which are more focused towards the interests of the urban areas. And in this case, rural-based media and its development is very much important. So the Khabar Lahariya filled this particular space. It also showed how a social entrepreneurship model shall work, which can work with profitability. And in this case, all this media is run by, women who are educated to the minimal level. So that shows the ability of the women on the rural side for self-employment. So the feminization of journalism, rural journalism was started with Khabar Lahariya. Now the same Khabar Lahariya, it is entering into digital media, and this is what is called as the Chambal media, where they are going to send the digital audio video files. So that is one is a positive development. Now coming to lessons from Arunachal Pradesh. There is a big lesson to the Congress. Congress has arrogated itself with power and High Command stopped listening to its states. So in this context, in the Arunachal Pradesh, the Congress has reacted swiftly and Mr. Pull, he has, all these rebels, 30 plus MLAs rebels, they came back to the Congress and Congress is able to form the government. The first important aspect of this is persuading the Nabam Tuki to move out of the chief minister's position and giving the space for the Mr. Dorji that made the difference for the rebels. Now coming to China Sea presence. You know that there are two islands. One is the Mischief Reef, which is there on the Spratly Islands on South China Sea, and Scarborough Shoal. So the Scarborough Shoal was a conflict. There is standoff between China and Philippines on this Scarborough Shoal. Now China has built an airport on this particular reef, that is Mischief Reef. And it is also building floating nuclear reactors to desaline the water and also to provide for electricity to these particular habitations. It means it is kind of building the habitations on these things. Now in this case, the Philippines have, US and Philippines have military defense treaty. Now how the US is going to react for this is of question over here. And the WHO study group, it has given the report on the health status. So what the report says is this. In India, that is the health workforce in India report, it says in India, the doctors are the lowest. There are 80 doctors for the lakh of population. And among this, half of them are not medically qualified. It means they are not medically certified. They are not MBBS certified doctors. It means we have quackery very much in practice in India. Coming to the lower staff, that is we have around 36 per lakh population. Among this really trained are around 6 per lakh population. That is the dismal state. And second one is density of the health services. The rural-urban differences in the district areas. And also across the states, if you take state of Kerala and West Bengal, they have got the better healthcare services available when compared to the other states. So this distribution challenges and density of the services, these are one things which we need to understand. And next is UNESCO honors. What do you mean by this UNESCO honors over here? Right, UNESCO It identifies the World Heritage Sites. Now in India, 3 such sites were identified. One is a mixed site, that is Kanchenjunga National Park is a mixed site. It means it both natural and cultural importance is there for it. The next one is Nalanda Mahavidyapita. And the third one is the Capitol complex in the case of Chandigarh. Previously there was a question on Le Corbusier. He is the architect of the Chandigarh. Now the Chandigarh represents a modern independent India, and reflecting that he made this Capitol complex in Chandigarh. So these are the 3 things which are given the World Heritage status. So this is about today's newspaper. Thank you very much. All the best.